You've tuned in to the 49ers Rush podcast, and here is your host, John Chapman.
Welcome back, 49ers fans, to another episode of the 49ers Rush podcast, and today is going to be all about the Lions, the Detroit Lions, the preview moving forward to get you prepared for what to look for and how we are going to come away with the victory on Sunday. So we got news and injury updates. Our scout, Clayton, is going to show up later and break down schemes, matchups, and all these things, along with keys to winning on Sunday. So, a couple things to look through. Let's run through just kind of injuries and news. Right off the bat, our wide receiver one, Marquise Goodwin, he's out. His thigh bruise, there was a pretty good chance that he would be able to play, but they have gone ahead and he did not practice Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. And Friday is usually going to be the telling day whenever it comes to Sunday games, because if you can't go on Friday, you're usually done. So he is out, and they had already come out and said if Marquise Goodwin can't go, Dante Pettis is the starter, and they are going to move Richie James up. So Richie James will be active. This will be his first game as a pro, and I expect him to get some work. Punt returns, special teams, and he will get some work in on the slot. So my guess is, if we look at the snap counts last week, when Marquise Goodwin went down, Dante Pettis was out there nonstop. That's just what it's going to be. So we're going to have Pierre Garçon on the outside, Dante Pettis on the other side, and then Trent Taylor and Richie James will be moving around in the slot. But again, Trent Taylor probably looks to get about 80 to 90% of those snaps. Kendrick Bourne will be the first one outside to come up, and then also, again, Richie James will get some snaps in the slot. So that's what our receiving core is going to look like. I'm telling you right now, this is going to be Dante Pettis' stage, because Marquise Goodwin will be back in a week or two for sure. It's a quadricep bruise, which just means you got to rest it, whatever. There's no ligament damage. There's no bone damage. It just hurts whenever you plant. But if Dante Pettis can take advantage of this opportunity of getting starter snaps, again, last week he got 49 out of 67 snaps, he will work his way into the starting rotation. He has that opportunity where, you have your three primary outside wide receivers, and they are all kind of rotating in and out. So that's it. Now, moving over to the offensive line side, yikes, it is looking bad. Joshua Garnett is out. He did not practice any day with his dislocated toe, so he is gone. He's not. Now, Eric Magnuson, who we were hoping would come back, he got 3 straight days with limited practice. His hamstring injury, we haven't seen him yet this year. He has been ruled out as well. That we were hoping one of those two would be able to go. That right guard spot is going to be a mess. Now, Mike Pearson, he sprained his foot. He got a limited practice on Friday, and he is questionable. Now, I'm telling you this right now. If Mike Pearson can't go, we are going to be running a rookie practice squad candidate out there with our starters, and this is bad, very, very bad news. So probably going to be Najee Torin, 6'2", rookie, 6'2", 305, or J.P. Flynn, who we saw play in the preseason, 6'5", 320. It's going to be one of those two guys that come in. I doubt that we keep McGlinchey at guard, and because that just didn't work too well. If you remember, whenever both of our right guards went down last week, we moved McGlinchey into guard, and then we sent Gary Gilliam at right tackle, and that just didn't work. Gary Gilliam got destroyed, and it was just bad. As soon as he went in, our offense just started to have major issues. So if we look on the opposite side of the ball, Malcolm Smith is questionable with his hamstring. This guy, I don't think he's ever going to play for the 49ers. I really, really don't. And part of me says I just want him for depth this week. So I think he'll dress and be a possible emergency candidate. But our linebacking core, because, again, I should probably talk about this, man. This is kind of the big one. Our boy, who's Brock Coyle, who's just played awesome for us in spot duty. Not a lot of physical talent, but he is awesome. Just a great teammate, works hard, knows all the calls. He has a broken bone in his back and a concussion. They put him on IR, and I really think this might be it for him in the NFL. He was kind of a bubble guy anyway. He made it on our roster because we had so many injuries, suspensions, all these different things. Now, the good thing about it is, and props to him, he got a 3-year deal, $11.5 million extension to be basically a backup special teams and make sure everybody can line up right. And so I'm very, very happy that he got that money. He deserved it, and he put his body on the line, and a great teammate, but he is going to be a year out, probably minimum. You don't mess around whenever you are at a contact position like linebacker. You don't mess around with back injuries and neck injuries. And so I am wishing him the best. But Elijah Lee, man, he came in and got 10 snaps last week after Brock Coyle went down, and he came out as the highest-rated player by Pro Football Focus for this 49ers defense. I'm excited about this kid. He is the exact antithesis to Brock Coyle. He is a hyper-athletic guy that is all over the place, that makes mental mistakes, whereas Brock Coyle was very physically and talented, limited. He had a very low ceiling, but he knew where to be all the time and just effort. So we are flipping the script big time. Our defense is going to look different, and I'm pretty excited about it. I think Elijah Lee is going to be around for the long haul. I really do think that his ceiling is way higher than Malcolm Smith's. So Elijah Lee should get the start, and if something goes wrong, Malcolm Smith will come in if he is able to play. But that's where it's at. Now, just a couple quick updates. Also on the defensive side, Adrian Colbert's questionable with a hamstring. He didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday, got a limited practice in on Friday. This is gigantic. Who do we put back there? Do we go Jimmy Ward? He's not on the injury report, so that's my guess, but I would much rather see DJ Reed Jr. back there. Jimmy Ward, that experiment's come and gone. So we'll just have to see what happens back there. Hopefully Colbert is okay. Also, Jaquiski Tart, he got limited practice with his shoulders. He seems to be good to go. Kawan Williams are basically slot guy, and one of the keys to the game is going to be limiting Golden Tate out of the slot. That's going to be Kawan Williams' job. He has been limited with a rib injury, and Akelo Witherspoon has an ankle issue, but he had a full practice. So we'll just have to pay attention. Now, they've got injuries too. Their best player on their entire team, the Detroit Lions, Ezekiel Ansah, is questionable, and their offensive tackle and offensive guard are both out, Andrew Donnell and TJ Lang. So we should be able to get some pressure, which is just great news for us. And before we go to our resident scout at Kadu Clayton, if you want to follow him on Twitter, he's a great follow. I want to mention our sponsors. MyBookie is absolutely awesome. If you are a betting type person, this is the website for you because there's no better place to bet. Whenever you win, they pay. You don't have to worry about much. Their mobile site is very, very easy to use. They've been in business for years. Their online reviews are exceptional, so you don't have to struggle or hassle with, well, I won, now how do I get my money? There's lots of sites out there like that. When you win, they pay. So head over to their site. Again, MyBookie, MyBookie. And hey, we've got some ways for you if you haven't started an account to get some extra money, because they will match your initial deposit dollar for dollar if you use our code. So our promo code is RUSH100, no spaces, RUSH100. And whatever you deposit, they will match that dollar for dollar. Now, if you are a late night owl like I am, and you want to get an additional $25, they have a crazy thing going on right now where if you deposit after 7 p.m. Eastern Time, that's going to be 10 p.m. out here on the West Coast, you get an additional $25. I don't understand it, but it's what they're doing. So if you deposit, again, after 10 p.m. Pacific and use the code RUSH25, you get the initial dollar for dollar match and an additional $25 for free. So head over there now. Again, that's MyBookie, and go ahead and sign up. The codes are RUSH100 if you're an early guy, or RUSH25 if you are a late guy or girl to get paid. So having said that, let's head over to our resident scout at Kado Clayton, and let's find out what the keys to this week are going to be to get that victory. All right, so we are on now with our host at Cadu Clayton. Did I say that right, Mr. Clayton?
You did this time, John. Good job, man.
I'm being trained by a true Canadian. This is wonderful. So he has been looking and watching film, breaking down stats. I wish you guys could see the notes that this guy has put together on this game. This is awesome. So whether you're a casual fan or a diehard football fan, you're going to learn something today. So real quick, the Detroit Lions, if you don't know, were absolutely destroyed by the New York Jets last week and rookie quarterback Sam Darnold. They got destroyed at home, 48-17, and it was bad. It was really, really bad. So right off the bat, were there any major injuries that we have to take away from the game?
Yeah, the one injury that stuck out was the injury to Ziggy Ansah. He had a shoulder injury. But looking at stuff today, I noticed that he did participate in practice today.
And that's the thing that stinks is the NFL has gotten rid of the probable status, so it seems like every single person is questionable. But this is huge. Ziggy Ansah is their best player defensively, and I don't think it's even close. They franchised him. He is a huge pass rushing specialist. So if he is out, that is absolutely huge. So what we're going to do now, we are going to jump in and we're going to break down their defense from what they looked like last year to this year, which is interesting because they have completely changed. Their head coach came over from the Patriots and they changed their entire defensive alignment with what they run, and we'll talk about that. But real quick, Clayton, can you break down, kind of give us a snapshot of what they did last year? What were kind of the results of the Lions defense?
Last year, John, they were not very good. They were last in scoring, sacks, and yards per play. So all three of those categories they finished dead last in.
Yeah, that's definitely not optimal. And again, they finished 9-7 last year, barely missing out on the playoffs. But man, they're a great offensive team, and they put up a lot of shootouts. But it's just kind of who they are. So real quick, their strengths. Are there any strengths that they have? Like what are they good at?
Not sure they're good at anything after last week. No, just kidding. The only thing I really noticed that they do have depth on their defense.
Yeah, and so again, they plugged a lot of guys in through the draft that they brought in. And my favorite player on this defense, man, I love Diggs. That guy can just flat out play. He kind of plays the hybrid safety linebacker role. He plays all over the place, and he's one of the only guys that posted a good grade on Pro Football Focus. He put up a 92.2 last week, and again, he's their strong safety / nickel corner / linebacker, very similar to almost what Eric Reed did for the 49ers last year. He's just all over the field and is a huge playmaker. So here we go. Let's focus on the weaknesses. This is what we want to hear. Where is the kind of area that the Jets took advantage of them most?
Definitely had to have been the run. They struggled to stop the run big time.
Yeah, and it didn't matter who was back there, whether it was Isaiah Crowell or Bilal Powell, who are not like top-end running backs for the NFL, but let's be honest, we don't have top-end guys either right now at the running back position. Was there a certain point on the line where they had a lot of success running through? Right side, left side, anything like that?
Yeah, when Crowell scored that big, long touchdown, that 62-yarder, he did go right through the right guard. And they also gave up a ton of yards on the outside of the left end. Yeah,
so running right off that right guard, and then the way that Pro Football Focus charts their plays is they match where they ran. So the right guard is the B gap on the right side, and around the left end, basically out past the left tackle, toss plays to the left and things like that. That's kind of where they were at. They didn't really, it was bad. It was really, really bad. So real quick, were they able to get any pass rush? It seemed like Sam Darnold was back there and had all day to throw the entire time. Like, did they even get a hit him?
Yeah, the only time he was hit was on the 2 sacks that he took.
So they got 2 quarterback hits, but they cashed them in for 2 sacks. And I know Ansah had one of those. He played less than 20 snaps, and he ended up leaving with a shoulder injury. So it kind of goes to show you, if Ansah's not in there, their pass rush is almost non-existent, which helps us out a lot. Now what we want to do, let's focus just a little bit on their defensive scheme. I know that Matt Patricia, he is a multiple look guy and does some weird stuff. What did you find on kind of their formation and how they line up?
Well, I went back to last year, just did watching some film and stuff like that, and noticed he definitely likes to do a lot of different things that a lot of teams don't. The Pats had 43 sacks last year, and 28 of them came from 4-man rushes, and 4 came with just 3 defenders crashing the line.
Man, it's interesting because it seems to be Matt Patricia's MO is, hey guys, I'm smarter than everybody else. And not necessarily saying that he's putting that out there with the whole rocket science thing and all that, whatever. But the idea is this, he is very unconventional. And if you look at the numbers that they gave up last year at New England, they were awful up and down. They gave up the most yards. They were one of the worst defenses, but they would kind of tighten up in the red zone. Okay, so I know that they do a lot of very different things. Did they do a lot of 3-3-5 where they have 3 linemen, 3 linebackers, 5 defenders, or were they always bringing kind of 4 guys and zone dropping a defensive end?
No, they did do a little bit of the 3-3-5, but also Patricia likes to use 6 or 7 defensive backs on the field at the same time as well.
Yeah, guys like Quandre Diggs that kind of, they're just one of your guys that can do everything, jack of all trades type of guys, and they throw them around a lot. Now, the problem that they have is, I mean, even Darius Slay left a little bit last game. The depth is there, but, man, there are some guys that we can take advantage of, which I'm pretty excited about. So, here's what I want to do. I want to hear who are your players. This is my favorite part of the episode every week. Who are the players to watch out for, and who are the players to exploit? So, right off the bat, on this defensive side, who are you looking as players we got to watch out for?
Darius Slay's got to be a big one. Last year, he was tied for the lead with 8 interceptions and led all players with 34 pass breakups. And the other big name, you mentioned him once already today, was Quandre Diggs. Does not give up much through the air. Even on Sunday, he gave up 9 yards on 2 catches.
I'm biased here. I'm a Longhorn, so Quandre Diggs, man, I've loved this guy for a long time. You know, related to future or great Longhorn Quentin Jammer and all those things. That guy is just an absolute beast, and not scared to see him, but he is the man. He will be all over the field. I'm just telling you that now. Now let's go to the opposite side. Can you give me 1 or 2 guys that we can exploit, guys that we can kind of target, and these are guys we can take advantage of on Sunday?
Yeah, 2 names for sure. We got Nevin Lawson and Tavon Wilson.
And what positions do they play? Nevin Lawson, he's cornerback, right?
Yes.
We're getting into the deep NFL guys. So Nevin Lawson is a corner, and Tavon Wilson, he's the other safety spot, right?
Yes, you're right.
So what can you tell me about these 2 guys?
Well, the Jets kind of Darnold had them locked in definitely on Sunday. Lawson gave up a 66.7% catch rate. He was targeted 6 times and gave up 4 catches and a touchdown.
That's no good. That's what we need to take advantage of. So, real quick, what about Austin before we move over to the offensive side?
Same thing with him. He was targeted 3 times, gave up his 3 catches and a touchdown as well. So obviously 100% catch rate. So his defensive grade wasn't very high neither. He was a 35.3.
Oh, okay. That sounds like my grades back in school, 35.3. That's bad for the people keeping score at home. So let's jump over to the offensive side, and this is where the game's going to be won, folks. If Detroit is dangerous anywhere, it is the offense. Now, they are heavy throwers, but when Stafford is on, he is the best in the business. That's just what he is. Now, we saw how bad it was last week, and, man, he was getting destroyed. So, let's talk about some injuries. Are there any key injuries we need to know about, Clayton, on their offensive side?
Well, you got LeGarrette Blount. He had hurt his knee, and he had left the game. Biggest one, obviously, was Stafford got banged up quite a bit, got knocked around.
Man, I could not believe how many times he kept getting back up. He was just getting destroyed.
Yeah, he was limping toward the end of the game there. He was still battling it out, though.
Yeah. I mean, the kid's he's tough as anything. It's funny. I remember Stafford was always labeled as an injury guy early in his career, and then he finished that up with 5 straight seasons without missing a game. So very, very tough guy. It's kind of what they are. What are their strengths kind of, I don't know, generically, what do they try to do what are they best at?
Definitely their passing game.
So what is it that makes their passing game different than most teams?
They got 3 solid wide receivers. Tayton, obviously Marvin Jones, and Kenny Golladay. He came on a little bit last year and had a breakout game on Sunday.
Man, Kenny Golladay looks like a cheat code person. He is gigantic. And probably my favorite play of the whole game. Stafford throws an interception, terrible pass, and Kenny Golladay just lays out the DB that intercepted and forced a fumble. I mean, the whole time I was just thinking, that guy needs to play defense. We need him. He looks like a defensive end, a skinny defensive end out there playing wide receiver. But
yeah, I watched that thing about 3-4 times and just laughed the whole time. I couldn't believe it.
He is a mean man. So if they are great at passing, I would assume their run game is terrible. But did they run the ball well against the Jets? Or I don't know why, but for some reason I was thinking they actually had a decent running game. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, they didn't run at all very well yet on a Sunday. You got Kerryon Johnson, obviously the rookie that was drafted. He was probably the most productive.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think we're going to see a big, heavy dose of Kerryon Johnson, a little bit less Theo Riddick than what you saw in the game there. I think Kerryon Johnson was one of my favorite rookie running backs coming out of Auburn. The kid is very, very talented. We just haven't seen it at the next level. So hopefully we don't see it this week either. Now, we talked about Kenny Golladay and just how big he is, but I feel like Golden Tate is their guy. Walk us through kind of what he did last week and what we need to watch out for.
Stafford definitely loves Tate. He was targeted 11 times and he caught 7 passes for 79 yards and a touchdown.
And again, Golden Tate has been the top 3 in the NFL in yards after catch. And this scares the death out of me with our secondary, because we have 2 guys in our secondary that are not the surest of tacklers, Jaquiski Tart and Adrian Colbert. They both like to hit, and they're both very physical, but both of them missed several tackles last week. This scares me because Tate's going to get the ball over the middle, and he's always going to be moving. We saw this a lot with his old team with the Seahawks. If we do not wrap up Tate, this is one of those things that scares me. I don't have a problem with Marvin Jones or Kenny Golladay beating us because I think our corners are designed to stop guys like this on the outside, those deep guys. But Golden Tate scares me. I'm not going to lie. That is, I'm willing to say this. If Golden Tate has less than 100 yards and no touchdowns, we win this game for sure. So 100 yards and a touchdown is kind of the key for Golden Tate. We want to keep him under those things. So the flip side of this is this, Clayton. Who is somebody on the offense that we can kind of target or exploit to make sure that they don't get going?
Well, obviously Stafford. He's when he's under pressure, he only has a 50% completion rate. So I mean, you get on him, and he's not going to make those passes.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. We saw that these guys can be gotten too. You know, their positions, they've got some weaknesses on that offensive line for sure. And Taylor Decker, he went down a little bit, got back up and played their left tackle. But I'm telling you right now, if we attack these guys up front and we get pressure and we get some hits on Stafford, we're going to be okay. But if he has time to sit back there and just do his own thing, it's going to be a long night. Again, my keys to the game are to limit Golden Tate and get more than 3 sacks. We do those 2 things, this is going to be a W for the 49ers. So, Clayton, I just want to say thank you, man. Really do appreciate your time, and just want to say thank you. Where can they find you on Twitter?
Thanks for having me, John. Yeah, on Twitter they can get me at Cadieux Clayton. That's at CADIEUX Clayton.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for us this week on the 49ers Rush podcast. Stay strong, faithful, and hopefully this Sunday, our first home game of the year, we will defeat the Detroit Lions, make them 0-2, bring us to 500. Really excited. And again, just want to say thanks again, Clayton. Stay strong, faithful.